Our next topic is called the required knowledge. So for you to do all those tasks that you have said as an engineer, you require some knowledge. And as much as we are going to be talking about the kind of knowledge you are going to require, because for the next 5 years, we are going to be gathering knowledge, but in general terms, we're going to discuss that knowledge and how important it is. And what we have done in this lecture is we have given some parameters that the closer the number is to 100, it is a very important knowledge, and the closer it is to 0, then it is becoming least important. This is similar to the way we normally say that you want to say how much you like a product, and you are given from 1 to 10. So if you say a 9, that means you like it a lot. A 10, still you like it a lot. But you give it a 5, you mean you're not sure whether you like it or not. And if you give it a 1 or a 2, then you say that you least like it or you don't like it. So what you're saying here is that this scale, which we have used here, is like giving us a scale that if the knowledge has a number closer to 100, then it is a very important knowledge for an engineer. And as it goes approaching 0, then it becomes lesser and lesser important. So having introduced that, then we are saying that the first kind of knowledge that you require as an engineer is that of engineering and technology. And that involves knowledge of equipments, knowledge of tools, how to use tools or engineering tools, knowledge of mechanical devices, how to use them to produce motion, to produce light, to produce power, and to produce products that are considered products of technology and other applications. So what we are saying is that one of the things we are going to be training you is to generate products or develop products that are considered products of engineering, and that is what we have defined as technology. So that kind of knowledge on how to use the tools to produce power, to produce light, to produce other products, that is a very important knowledge that you must acquire. So the other knowledge you are going to require, which is approximately 95, is that the knowledge of computers and electronics. So as much as you are using your phones and your tablets to access the online lectures, it is definitely important that you get a good grasp of knowledge of computers, such that you have a laptop, and therefore that laptop should allow you to design. There are some things you cannot do with a phone. You cannot design an electric board or an electric circuit board using a phone. Therefore, what you're going to be requiring is that you're going to have some knowledge of computers. And actually, this topic or this unit is called Introduction to Engineering and Computing, because we are saying computing is a very important knowledge that you must gather for you to practice or to train as an engineer. And therefore, you are going to require knowledge of developing circuit boards, developing processors, chips. Actually, these processors are the ones that runs in computers. And therefore, even how they run is a knowledge that you must acquire. The chips are the ones that constitute many electronics. We no longer see them. There you might have seen transistors and diodes, among others. They are normally miniatured to fit in one chip, such that there are so many of them in this chip, and they are performing some task as you give it. So that is what we call a chip. Therefore, you are going to require the knowledge of computer hardware and software, including the applications and programming, for you to train as an engineer and to practice as an engineer. So you cannot avoid the necessity of understanding computing systems and how computers work and even using them. So actually what I advise you to do is to make sure that labor on your side to buy yourself a laptop if you don't have one yet, or a computer, because even knowing how it works and using it to learn is part of engineering knowledge that is required. Now, the other kind of knowledge which you are going to find very useful is the knowledge of mathematics. Most of you have joined engineering because you are good in mathematics in high school. You might talk about mathematics and physics, but now for the one that is coming here first is that of mathematics. So what you actually find out is that you're going to require the knowledge of numbers, knowledge of operations, including their relationships, and those are going to be covered in basic arithmetics, algebra, geometry, calculus, statistics. So in your engineering course, every semester, you're going to be doing 1 or 2 mathematics units. And therefore, that kind of knowledge is very important because it prepares you to solve engineering problems at every level. I can tell you for a fact that you're going to be doing calculus 1, there is calculus 2, all the way to calculus 4. And once you are finished with this calculus, you're going to be doing some other units like statistics, that is called probability and statistics. Then there's another unit that we have not mentioned here that are called complex analysis. I think there's complex analysis, and there's another one called numerical analysis. So what I'm simply saying that in your engineering profession, we are going to be dealing with the mathematics from day one to the very end. Therefore, you must get good grasp of mathematics, the operations, and the you cannot afford. You cannot say that personally I don't know mathematics, and therefore I'm not going to be giving it attention. Mathematics is going to become key to this engineering, and you can see it is given the weight of 95. So the other kind of knowledge you are going to require is that of design, so that you are going to be designing, you are going to develop designing techniques, principles, tools, and instruments. And the kind of design you're going to be doing is that designing of products, designing of electronics, designing of systems. And therefore, you're going to be following some principles of design that that you must actually get good at. And therefore, they are going to be involved in production and the use of precision technical plans. So you are going to be drawing plans, blueprints, drawings. Actually, you're going to be doing, I think, a whole unit. I'm not sure whether it is one or two. At some point we did some revision, but you're going to be doing engineering drawing so that you can be able to understand how engineers interpret drawings and how the drawings are important in the engineering industry, among others. The other thing that you might not really spend time much on, but it is equally important, is that of developing models. Models is these are like simulation tools that allow you to see how a product would behave in real world, but actually, in actual sense, you're actually modeling it in software. So this is another engineering tool that you're going to be using in design. And the best way I can give you is that I think you might have seen probably in some of the videos I might shared after last week, that for someone to manufacture a car, they normally make a model of the car, not the prototype now, but the model. And there are many models of a car that can be built. One of them is for the suspension system. So when a car is being developed, before actually it goes to production, there is suspension system that the car must be developed so that even as it drives along the road, how it behaves when it meets a bump, how it behaves when it meets a pothole, among many other things, or it wants to make an abrupt braking or an abrupt acceleration, how this system of suspension behaves, that is a model that is normally built in software. And therefore, what you're saying is that in the design, you must learn how to develop those models. Okay, for engineering, for electrical engineering, you're not going to be developing models for cars, but I'm now giving you the example of a car just to show you how useful are those models. So another important knowledge that you require is that of production and processing. So you're going to understand that for any production, there is a requirement to know what are they going to be the inputs, what are going to be the outputs, and what are the raw materials, what is the waste, and what kind of quality do you require of your products, what costs are involved, and the techniques for maximizing your output and minimizing your input. These are the tasks or knowledge that you are going to require in your engineering profession or career. So you cannot, and I think I've given this example quite often, that you have a road here and you have a river. It is going and there is a river that is going under it, and therefore for this one you require a bridge. So for this kind of bridge, you cannot afford to spend the entire cost of developing the road on this bridge. Say you have been given 10 million to develop the road. I'm just giving 10 million as a very simple example. The roads normally cost many millions, but then you cannot say that you're going to develop a road and spend 2 million on the road and spend 8 million on the bridge. As much as the bridge is expensive, then you cannot afford that. So what happens is that there are some ways you can maximize the output and minimize the cost. At the end of the day, you end up with a product. And that kind of knowledge is called optimization. And therefore, you're going to require that kind of knowledge of production and processing, and understand that you require to have all those knowledge for you to practice as an engineer. So now we are growing to the lesser important knowledge, and I think we have highlighted the 5 most important ones, and that is engineering and technology, computer and electronics, mathematics, design, and production. So those are the 5 most important knowledge that you must require. And probably if you are asked the most important knowledge that an engineer engineer should have. As much as you might say other things, these 5 are the most important. They have 80% out of 100 importance rating compared to the others. The sixth one is that of building and construction. We are saying that knowledge of materials, methods, and appropriate tools, construct objects, structures, and buildings is important. And therefore, as much as this may approach this is more of civil engineering, but you're saying that you as an engineer still required to have a knowledge of materials, and therefore you're going to be doing a unit called material science. You know, I'm now giving you some of the how this comes important. Material science. As an engineer, you need to understand what materials are you going to be using to make a product. For instance, as an engineer, you want to develop wind turbines for generating wind power, and therefore the wind is going to be blowing this turbine, and therefore they are going to be rotating, and when it rotates, they generate some electricity. So the kind of materials that you're going to use, as much as this is not purely the work of an engineer, then an engineer still requires to understand that if you get a blade that is made of aluminium and another one that is made of steel, one will be stronger than the other, but at the end of the day, it might produce some weight that causes the turbine to be inefficient. So in few words, I'm saying that as an engineer, you must make a decision on the kind of materials that you are using to make your products. You cannot just be ignorant about the materials and the methods, and therefore you need to come up with objects, structures, systems, and buildings. So that kind of knowledge of materials is going to be there, and therefore that is actually one of the units you're going to be covering is called material science. You require some knowledge of administration and management. As an engineer, you're going to be working with people, and therefore you must understand that for you to develop anything, it requires some organizational planning, and even nobody works for free. So you need to understand some business aspects that are required for you to develop a product. And therefore, you also need to show some coordination and how you are going to execute your engineering project. So we are going to be talking about planning, resource allocation, manpower modeling, leadership techniques, and other production methods. So again, there's a unit you're going to be doing in your course that is called engineering management. So some of those skills are going to prepare you so that you can be understand that you cannot just have the knowledge of purely electronics. You don't know anything else apart from wires, how power transmits, etc., etc. You actually require some knowledge of how to handle people, how to come up with the plans, and how to execute those plans. And that kind of knowledge is actually given a very heavy weight of 75%. So you cannot actually afford to be ignorant on the kind of planning that you require for you to do any engineering project. Another one is that of physics. Of course, you know for sure that physics carries a very big role in your engineering profession. And I even know that for you to do engineering, you are required to have passed in physics. And therefore, you are saying that the knowledge and prediction of physical principles, laws, and applications, including air, water, material dynamics, light, atomic principles, heat, electric theory, earth formations, and meteorological and other related natural phenomena, you are required for you to practice and to train as an engineer. So you must understand the laws of nature, the general laws of nature, like the gravity, how air interacts with the water and materials, etc. You have good knowledge or the good basis of physics, and even you are doing a course in physics in first year, and therefore I would definitely agree that this is a very important knowledge that you require among others. It is related, given the weight of the 5%. Again, you need to be able to communicate with your peers, with other engineers, and with your customers, among others. So you need to have some good understanding of English language. The structure and the content of English must be conversant to you. You cannot be careless with the meaning of words and spelling of words just because you are doing an engineer and you are good in mathematics. As much as passing in English was not the first requirement for you to be admitted into engineering, you cannot not afford to be careless with this language. Therefore, you are going to be applying the rules of composition and grammar. They are going to become very important. At some point, when you are writing your answers to your exams or even to your assignments, we cannot afford to be careless with your grammar and compositions that you write to the extent that you are failing because you are communicating poorly. So we are going to be required to demonstrate the knowledge of the English language. The last one I think I want to discuss is that of public safety and security. That again, you cannot afford to be very careless as an engineer in terms of how safe the public that you are serving are in terms of security and safety. So as much as you're developing the products and as much as you're developing the systems, you must of course apply your knowledge of safety and security to make sure that the products and the systems that you develop meet the safety standards of the public and the society. Therefore, even for protecting yourself, preventing injury, and meeting the regulations that have been set out, the rules and the regulations of engineering profession, etc. So you must actually make sure that you understand what public safety and security requires. So again, I will stop there. The others are quite many. They are important as well. They are important knowledges that you require. But at least I've gone up the extent where any knowledge that is above 50%, I've actually tried to discuss it because it's important for you to gather. But the others are also important, and therefore you need to go through them.